Hey, welcome to this week's Laugh and Learn with Social. We have guest Marc with us. Marc, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
And Marc, I'm going to do a little intro to the show, but then we'll let you intro, and then we're going to jump into today's topic, which I'm really happy you brought forth because I am very interested in it, obviously. But just to preface, so Really Social is my business, and we do a blab every Tuesday. We're shifting to noon Mountain Time on Tuesdays, so it seems to be a good time that works for everybody. And typically, this is the third Tuesday of the month, and we talk about when and where in social media. And I feel like this actually tied in really well with the where part of social, because we're going to be talking today about custom domains. And Marc, I'm going to let you then take on and talk about you and what you guys do and how that correlates to domains.
Perfect. So my name is Marc Gawith. I am a business development and influencer strategist at rightside.co. Rightside is a new domain name registry. So without getting into a lot of the minutia and the boring stuff, basically we own domains. Everyone's familiar with .com and .net and .org, the ones that have been around for 25 plus years. Now there are new domains like .social and .live and .video. .rocks and .ninja as well. So they're new domain names that exist for brands and individuals to have sort of a more memorable web address or campaign address, right? So there are different ways these domain names can be used. I came across Rachel and her show last week. I think I mentioned something about, are you familiar with the .social names? And she mentioned, yes, I have really.social. So I'm still, coming across new people using, our domain names every day. And when I see them, I get excited. So I guess I kind of geek out about domain names, but I've been in this industry since 2005. So I've seen a lot of things happen and transpire over the last now 11 years in the kind of domain and internet world. So, it's an interesting time to be a part of it, and excited to be on and talk about what we do.
Yeah, I thank you so much for being on here. And again, I think it's very timely. I obviously have a vested interest in this kind of thing. And you know what, Amy's one of my social sisters. We're in a networking group called Colorado Women in Social Media, and she has her own social media business. But she asked a really good question in the sidebar. And just a reminder to everyone, if you have a question, you can ask it in the sidebar. It's even better if you do a /Q to lead off your question, because then I'll make sure I see it. But I am keeping an eye on that sidebar. But Amy asked if you could explain how it is that you own the domain name. So how did you come to own some of these domain names?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, because I think there's a lot of unknowns around that. Some people know that they exist, they just don't know how they came to be in existence. So there's an application process that companies can go through. Basically, the body that governs the internet, or the domain names, essentially ICANN, opened up an application sort of period where companies could apply for domain names. There's an application fee of $185,000 per domain name to just file an application. And then if there are multiple applicants, it goes to an auction. So our company owns 40 domain names. So you can do the math real quick, or at least 185,000 times 40 into this investment. Some of them we did go to auction and obtain. So we own the rights to the domains, Amy. We went after acquiring the domain names so we can then sell them to the general public. So there are several hundred companies just like us out there that exist that own these domains. Obviously, we don't all own the same ones. We have different portfolios. So there are companies out there that have as few as one, and some that have as many as 185. So a lot of new companies sort of breaking into this space. Each one has sort of their own take on pricing. But the one thing I think that Rightside, our company, has done really well is we've tried to keep the costs low as far as purchasing a just a general domain. We do have premium domains and higher level domains available, kind of the more sought after ones. But our most expensive domain is like $30 a year. So we're not asking hundreds or even thousands of dollars for our general price domains. We're trying to make them affordable for every, for the common user to have. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean like a domain name. Let's take, for example, .video, live.video. Live video is a very popular topic right now. We're partaking in live video right now as we speak. So domain names like that are more sought after, very generic, are going to be priced higher. But that's sort of it in a nutshell, and how we came about acquiring these names.
Now, Amy had a follow-up question, which is a good question. Does that mean that for any, and again, I have .social.
Yep.
But does that mean you own every, XYZ.social, whatever is the predecessor to that .social domain, or do you just own a couple that you think you anticipated would be highly sought after?
No, we own the entire .social namespace. So if you wanted, let's say, Amy.social, you could go to whatever company and buy that domain name, but whatever company you buy it from is going to buy it from us. So we are not necessarily a retail company. We work with the companies like GoDaddy and Name.com and Register.com and all those others to offer and sell these domains.
Makes sense. And I actually just posted in the comment. So indirectly, I may have bought my .social domain from you. Because I purchased, my domain is really .social. And so I bought it, gosh, I think it was maybe about 5 or 6 months ago. And I went through GoDaddy because somebody else had it.
Yep.
So I went through and I wanted it, and, we bartered and negotiated and stuff, and I got it because it was important for me to have. So indirectly. Yeah.
So, and that's another aspect of domains that, probably won't get into a lot because, that's a whole other topic in and of itself, the whole aftermarket approach and buying a domain name that someone else might own. But any domain name. And like I said, we have 40. Our 40th one just was released earlier this month, .games. So, with the gaming industry, VR, all that stuff, I think it's going to be really really exciting, and it'll be interesting to see how that takes off. But my two favorites are .social and .live, which we are kind of talking about today. So definitely happy to answer any other questions or tell you how to get them or how to use them. I know we're going to talk about a little bit about SEO stuff as well. Yeah. I'm sure there's some questions out there on how these domain names perform in SEO. So any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually. So, okay, we're all and I remember when I first started, I got a .com, and it seemed like that was the natural state of mind. But I remember being on GoDaddy and looking, and you said, would you like a custom domain like this? And I was like, so I went and clicked on it and just saw that wealth of other options, .biz, .live, .social, and .social. I was like, yes, I have to have that one. But I remember being a little scared about it because I'm like, well, is that like the right thing to do? So one question I want to ask before we get into kind of all the benefits of a custom domain, but what would you say to somebody who's kind of more of the standard train of thought that, well, a .com, you should just go with .com because that makes the most sense. That's what we've always done. What would be your response to that regarding custom domains?
I guess my response would be, and not to be in a snarky way, but good luck finding a relevant one. .coms have been out for 25 years. It was sort of the de facto domain name, from the beginning. .com really doesn't mean anything anymore with all of the new domain extensions that are out. I think initially it was like commerce or commercial or, right. Something, right? And org was traditionally for, nonprofits, but there are so many new names that actually tell who you are. You want social because your website, you're really social, and it fits perfectly to that. So I guess my comment would be, if you are looking to sort of change your approach, you're looking for another way to whether it's brand yourself on social media, right. Create a live streaming persona. Now there are domain names that you can do that with. Have a short, memorable call to action. Because I think just reading an article about how Twitter is going to allow you to post whatever domain name, whatever URL, and not have it count against your character count, I think is going to be huge. For us specifically as a company that has, .social domains, now you don't have to shorten it. Now you can share something, you can share a relevant domain name to track your social media shares and, just your interaction on there. So I guess to kind of come back to your question is I would give the new domain names a shot, especially if there's one that is specific to who you are and what you do. We have .lawyer and .attorney. There are domain names now that are made for professions: .lawyer, .attorney, .engineer, .dentist. So if you're an engineer, what better domain name to have than, like if you're a mechanical engineer, mechanical.engineer. Obviously that tells everyone, that's searching for you, that's out there looking for your website, exactly who you are. No longer is there sort of is that their website? Is that their business site? Is that their personal site? Are they going to have family photos on there? It really kind of tells the consumer who you are and what you do.
I love that. That's so great too, that insight too. And I totally appreciate it. I'm one of those people who adores change. I'm a weirdo like that, but I loved the fact that this was coming in, like, we can change it. I want to be different. And it really, for me, anecdotally, it did speak to, like, I want to stand out. And I love what you pointed out about Twitter's new rollout, that they're going to allow the 140 character limit is not going to count your domain. And you think about that so much. People honestly today are creating a brand or a campaign, and they're looking at that name first, and they're going to probably go look at domains and hashtags and, like, what can I name it that is going to stand apart and not be looped in with somebody else's. And I could have done realllysocial.com, but to just do really.social is like, well, that keeps that makes me more concise. It's my brand. No one has to, it's like, well, you're realllysocial.org, you're realllysocial.com. It's like, no, I'm really.social. I love that you pointed that out, that, we are looking to make that and, have that brevity and have that brand associated with us without having to go the traditional .com, and figure out what's the tail end of that domain. So yeah, I thank you for pointing that out. I think that's great. And I know, again, we're talking about .social and .live now, and the fact that with social media being a huge mainstay, and then I love that you brought up .live, because with live video, I mean, here we are, like you'd mentioned, we're in a live video, and so many people are seeing the benefit of live video. Are you guys seeing a lot of, onset of people just coming in like, I need that .live or that .social domain?
Yeah, .live actually it's our fastest growing domain name. It's only been out, I think, for 8 months, and in 8 short months, I think there's 40,000 registrations, which, historically compared to .com, that doesn't seem like a lot. But when you're basically competing for shelf space against 600, new domain extensions,
right?
That's pretty impressive. Also couple that with the fact that companies like Facebook, Twitter, Blab that we're on right now, YouTube, Connect, getting into the game. There's so much happening with live video that having a .live domain name that you can brand whatever platform you're on, because domains are platform agnostic.
Yeah.
Blab might be the flavor of the week, but next week it's Facebook Live, and then the week after that it might be something else. Have a domain name that you can share out, and regardless of what platform is powering it, they're still going to be able to find you.
Right.
If you're sharing Facebook, and all of a sudden Facebook goes away, to use Meerkat as an example, Meerkat was it was a big thing, a year ago. Now it's nowhere to be found. So it just goes to show you how sort of fickle these platforms can be, but domain names are here to stay, right? And you can market it, you can brand it, you can use whatever platform to power it, and it will always be that same destination on the web.
So that leads us in, and Ross, I will get to your question momentarily too, but I do want to talk about, so that leads us into the benefit. So the benefits of having a custom domain like .social or .live. So you talked about how it can be that eternal thing no matter what live platforms come and go, no matter what social media platforms come and go, that you are able to stay static in there and be like, yep, my brand is still here. Can you talk then? And I'm sure there's probably several benefits to this, particularly about SEO, but what are the benefits of having that custom domain versus a .com or a .org?
Well, first and foremost, it's memorable, right? I mean, when you tell someone that your website is really .social, probably some people are going to be like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean, really, .social? I didn't know that exists, right? So people are naturally going to question that, and it's going to stick in their mind more. Also, there's more availability now than ever before. Historically, you've had to buy a fairly long domain name. People have even had to get hyphenated ones, to get something that works for them, in the .com space. Now there are new, extensions that the availability is like 95 to 99% of the namespace is still available because they've been out for less than 2 years.
Right.
So, it really is the time to kind of think about your domain strategy. Plus, I'm not saying if you have a .com that you have to change. What I'm saying is .com is great, but .social and .live will complement your .com. You shouldn't muddy your .com with all of your social media stuff on your .com. If you have a .com, use a .social as a brand to aggregate all of your social content or have a link to all of your social hubs that you're on. Lamborghini actually is doing it fairly well in the fact that they have Lamborghini.com as their main site, and then Lamborghini.social, which basically just redirects to a really long URL on their .com, but it's short, it's memorable, it's easy to share, to basically find and locate the place on their .com site. So it's a shorter call to action. So it's much easier to share that as opposed to going Lamborghini.com /whatever/social, .html.
That makes sense too. Like if you want to maybe just have one domain for your live video feeds, to have that be the domain where they live, and that could redirect. But that's a brilliant idea to have that to where it's like compartmentalized a bit. Yeah,
we refer to them internally as complementary domains. That domains should be complementary, not complicated. And I was reading Daryl's quote, says the guy who owns all the .social domains. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of me, obviously, tooting, and basically saying what speaks, and what benefits us. But I really think that in the next 3 years, we're going to see so many people start to really adopt these, and we're already seeing it now. Brands start to use their own domain. And actually, this kind of segues into Ross's question, if you don't mind me kind of addressing that. So Ross, there's not necessarily a .brand domain, but there are brands that are using their own domain. So take Canon, copiers, printers, for example, they're using global.canon as their site, as their main hub for all of their businesses. So basically what we're going to start to see is these brands, these bigger brands, start to use their own company name, domain name as a trusted source. So think about all of the ways that people can spoof you. They can steal your identity. They can, basically stand up a site that looks like yours on a slightly different domain name. Now brands like Canon, Marriott, and others own their own domain extension. So, .Marriott, .Canon. So if you see that, it's their property. It's something that you can trust, and they're not opening it up to the public. So it's really starting to create this sense of security when you're interacting with these large brands. When you're booking a hotel on Marriott, you're not on some, spoof site that's trying to steal your credit card and your identity. You're on a Marriott site where you can actually book a hotel stay because it's a .Marriott.
Now, how could you, let's bring it back to Ross. If Ross wanted to do a .brand, how would he go about doing that?
So you can actually apply for your own domain. Like I said at the beginning, there is an application fee of $185,000. So there is an initial investment that is, fairly substantial if you're talking about, just yourself. Currently, the application period is closed, so you're not able to actually apply for them right now. I think the next, they're talking about opening it back up in 2017, 2018.
Gotcha.
But right now, I think they're focused on allowing the companies that have applied for, one, the domains and are actively marketing them to have some time to do that, to really sort of build the market before we introduce another 700 domain names into the market and sort of just,
That makes sense.
Create so much availability that the first ones can't really take off and do well. So kind of do it in a more staggered approach.
So I almost see it like the on-ramp light, when you're trying to get on the highway and the lights are like, well, we'll let you go, but now we're going to keep you back. So is that kind of functioning that way? They're trying to meter it out a bit?
Yeah, exactly. I think originally they had planned on just allowing, an open application period. But, after 600 or so came in and, they started seeing just the competition that was happening. I think they sort of said, all right, let's hold it for right now. We'll open it back up in the future, at a later date and allow other brands. I mean, I think brands can still do it. I think they actually still have it open. So if you're, the McDonald's or BMW or, whatever, right, you can apply for your own. But as far as like any just generic domains, more, horizontal or vertical focused domains like we own, they're not allowing anyone to apply for those currently.
Gotcha. So let's hop back to, again, talking about the benefit. Obviously you can stand apart with it. How does Google or how do search engines treat these these custom domains versus, like, if I had realllysocial.com, but I've got really.social, am I getting better treatment for SEO based on how I'm using that domain?
Yeah. So the Google basically came out and said they are treating all domain extensions the same.
Okay.
So they're not giving preferential treatment one way or another. They're basically ranking it off of the data, the content that's on the site. We actually recently we outsourced a white paper that was done through actually two different SEO companies that we had sort of vet the information about Jacksonville.attorney. So this attorney in Jacksonville, he used to be on his name, law.com. So he had this website that was up and running for a number of years, decided that he wanted to switch and he wanted to be Jacksonville.attorney. Basically, the study, just to kind of summarize it, because it's 15 pages and I don't think anyone wants to go read that, but he is getting on average $70,000 worth of free, essentially, Google AdWords or AdSense.
Wow.
A year, just based off of owning that domain name and having the organic search results that happen if someone searches for Jacksonville attorney.
Wow.
I mean, think about that. It's an exact match search. So if someone is searching for really social,
right,
or your website is going to come up at the top, obviously based off of geographic area and all the other things that happen. But, I worked with the Jacksonville attorney guy, got him signed up and, helped him out with acquiring the domain name. So I've watched this thing progress, and, every couple of weeks I do another search and, first it was on page 3 and then it was on page 2 and then it was on page 1.
Wow.
And then it slowly worked its way up and it was number 1 organically on Google for Jacksonville attorney, just doing a Jacksonville attorney search. So there are really, good benefits to that. But at the same time, if you're just going out and, buying a domain name because you think it has keyword, benefits and you're not putting any work into it, or not building out a relevant content rich site, you're probably not going to see those benefits. So with that caveat.
Yeah, you always have to do, I mean, it's not like there's going to be some magic formula like, ooh, if I just change my domain to a custom domain, I don't need to do any more work. It's just going to rise up. No, you still have to do your legwork of providing the original content and making sure your links are shared out and having all that support. But so that's interesting. So Amy, I was going to get back to her because she was saying, ooh, doing a .live for Amy. If she did like Amy Skillen .live, so if somebody starts saying, well, I I heard Amy Skillen's doing live videos. Let me go Google Amy Skillen live video, and they're probably going to be like, well, there's amyskillen.live. Bam. If she's generating that content, it gives her that much more of a leg up to get found, which, as we all know, on Google searches, that's very important.
Plus, in that case, there's probably not going to be a lot of competition. Right. I mean, I don't know how many Amy Skillens there are in the world that are also live streaming. Right. But having that exact match domain name is that much more powerful. When they know her name is Amy Skillen, they know she's doing live video. amyskillen.live is exact match. It's going to, basically be like, oh, that's probably her, right? So people that don't maybe are trying to find her, trying to figure out exactly where she's broadcasting. I think that's the most powerful part for me is, that like I have marcgawith.live. It goes to my Periscope. I'm not very active on it, but in the event that I am, instead of sharing periscope.tv/ whatever, I just say, hey, I'm going live. Check me out, marcgawith.live. Yeah. And I'm able to share that, and I'm able to promote my brand as opposed to Periscope's brand. These large platforms like Facebook and Periscope and others, they don't need help promoting themselves. Right. Why don't you have, and this is another benefit, right? Why don't you have a domain name that you're able to brand that channel or brand that platform? And that way, when you're sharing it out, you're sharing your name. So people are seeing you, they're seeing your brand as opposed to seeing Periscope's brand. So it starts to, it's that sort of eyeball effect where people are seeing your name as opposed to these other big brands. That's interesting too. So I was just thinking, and this kind of correlates to when you said it does, and we talked a little bit about it, where it doesn't necessarily have to brand domain, could be an offshoot or a complementary, as you said, a complementary domain to that brand. So let's take this. So if I did like I've really.social, but I'm the one broadcasting on live, and maybe I want to up my brand as a broadcaster as me, Rachel Moore. I could do rachelmoore.live and have that kind of complement my really.social, where maybe people just want to see, obviously, of course, they'll just want to watch me on live, but maybe everybody just wants to watch me on live, but then they can also kind of come back to really.social as far as like my wider offerings. But and then what if I had additional staff who are all really good broadcasters to their own right? I could have, my staff person, Claudia.live, and me, rachelmoore.live, but that all brings back to really.social. Does that make sense? Or is that something that seems like a valid thing to try, or? Yeah, definitely. I mean, if your staff members aren't broadcasting for really social and broadcasting in an official capacity, it wouldn't make sense for them to broadcast with your company handle or your company persona. It would make sense for them to have their own, and then their own unique URL that they can share out, and then when they're doing their broadcast, then they share and refer people back to the really social site, or your own live streaming sort of your company live streaming account, whatever that may be. Or even if I had really.social, but then I had maybe reallySocial.live and rachelmoore.live or things like that, but where it could all kind of bring back to the same place. Correct. Cool. Yeah, exactly. And in the event that, let's say, one of your staff members isn't actively doing their own broadcast and they want to redirect that domain name to your channel or the company channel, they can share that out, and then they're able to then track their shares to say, oh, I'm getting this much exposure on this one domain name, because it's not necessarily the one that people are watching on, but it's the one that they're finding your broadcast on. So that's how people are thinking through using these domain names for campaigns. Right. They're memorable. Like McDonald's is in Austria. McDonald's is using BigMac.rocks as a campaign URL. Wow. So they're promoting the Big Mac sandwich in Austria, and instead of doing like McDonald's.com/whatever or McDonald's.at, the Austrian country code, they're using BigMac.rocks as their campaign slogan and their campaign URL. So once again, it really works for brands to create a campaign around and have a short, memorable, unique call to action.
That's so interesting to me because, I do function in the social media space. So usually I'm looking at hashtags. So, like I might go try to, like, what are some hashtags that affiliate with Big Mac? Well, Big Mac rocks. Oh, if everybody's using that hashtag, well, sure, let me hop on. But it's almost like taking that often typed in phrase and saying, well, since so many people are using this and might be wanting to type it or something, or mention it or use that phrase, let's make that into a domain. And so BigMac.rocks, that's crazy to me that's using that smarts to say, well, we don't have to live in the confines of just like a hashtag. We can actually make a domain that's about this. I think that's so cool. This is opening up so many things I didn't realize were possible, right?
Yeah, I watch NCIS. My wife and I watched that show, and so we were watching one of the most recent episodes, and one of the characters on it, she created a hashtag Living Rocks. So it's about celebrating people that are living. Don't wait for them to die to celebrate them. So I look up living.rocks and it's available. So I'm like, she should have that as the domain name, where even if she redirected it to like the search page for all of the hashtags on Twitter, you could do that. When Prince passed away, there was a guy that registered prince.rip, because that's a domain name that we own as well, prince.rip, and basically redirected it to like the news page on Twitter where all of the, articles about Prince were, being posted. So instead of saying, hey, go to twitter.com/Prince/ whatever the, the long URL news story was, just go to prince.rip and you can see an aggregation of all of the stories. So I think that's what's the most powerful thing about, new domains is the ease in which you can create a short, memorable call to action and simply redirect it and not have to pay any money, additional money for that. Like that's included with the cost of registration. You don't have to host a website. You don't have to buy hosting. You don't have to develop a website. Because I think a lot of times when people hear, oh, a domain name, then they automatically think website, right? They automatically think, oh, there's going to be development costs. I'm going to have to hire a web designer. It's going to be thousands of dollars. No. If you're already using live streaming, or if you're using social media, if you're active on Facebook and that's the only thing you're on, go get a .social and redirect it to your Facebook account.
Wow.
Share your name .social as opposed to sharing facebook.com/whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's so smart. That's really, I hadn't even thought about that either. Yeah. And we're all talking about, this is an argument so many of us in social have where, and we're talking to businesses and stuff where they're like, well, I'm just going to blog on Medium or I'll blog on LinkedIn. We're like, well, you don't own that. That's not your stuff. If LinkedIn or Medium or Facebook go away, they can do whatever they want with that. But instead, you're saying we could like get a domain. We don't have to make a site, but we just get it and then redirect it to our content on that platform.
Correct. And you mentioned Medium, like we also own the domain name .news. There's so many news outlets that exist now, ways to curate and share your own news.
Right.
If you're a brand, if you're an individual, if you like, especially for companies that are public, it makes sense to have domain, company name .news that goes to all of their, like their investor stuff or, whatever that they're sharing, their, PR pieces as an easy way for them to find it. Because historically it's been domain name.com/ and it's like 3 or 4 levels deep in the website and it's hard to find. But, now there's a short, unique, call to action that you can share on social media. You can share, also these domains pass the radio test. That's the biggest thing. When you're sharing a URL, like we're going to have a blab soon about bad calls to action. Like there's so many companies, there's so many people out there that have just horrible calls to action. And QR codes are the biggest offenders, right? Like there was some guys talking about having a QR code on a billboard. Well, how are you going to scan a QR code on a billboard as you're driving by at 70 miles an hour, or in Colorado, sometimes 80, depending upon what freeway you're on? So, ultimately these domain names will pass the radio test and it'll give you a unique domain, a unique call to action to share, and something that people are going to remember. Yeah. Like if you say, to use the Prince .rip example, if you say go to prince.rip, people are going to remember that. they're going to be like, oh, well, was it Prince.RIP, Prince.rest in peace. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
With one caveat to that is there are a lot of people that still don't know these names exist. And that's our biggest challenge right now is overcoming the awareness objective. Oh, what do you mean? I thought isn't it .social.com? So a lot of people still put .com on the end of the .social.
Yes, they do.
So, there's still an awareness play there, but that's why I'm on shows like this. That's why we're writing articles, on our blog, sharing as many real world examples that we possibly can about how, effective and how easy it is to use these domains.
So that leads me to one more question I have. And guys, I've opened up the seat in case anyone does want to hop on and ask Marc a question. But so one question I had was, do you still advise people, we were just talking about that adoption and awareness, people aren't aware, they still are probably doing realllysocial.com and not finding my site. So would it behoove someone to say, yeah, I'm going to get that custom site, really.social. I should also probably buy the realllysocial.com site to redirect to my custom site? I mean, do you recommend that? Or are you kind of like, no, just go full feed in and don't worry about it?
I mean, I would say if the domain name was available for an $8, a small investment, probably might be a wise thing to do in the near term. But once again, going back to one of the very first things I said is most of the good domains in .com have been taken for years.
Yep.
Like I don't even own my first and last name .com because when I worked at my previous company, starting out in the domain space, one of the clients that I worked with bought it as a gag and still has not released it. So now I don't really care anymore because now I have, marc.social. So, I mean, historically to get a 4-character.com,
right,
you would have been looking at tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hey, Ross, what's up?
Hey, Marc, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
So I think these are great ideas that you're talking about. I didn't really want to use, I got a rossbrand.tv, right? And didn't really want to use it to send people to my Blab page because it just felt too self-promotional or whatever. But now I'm realizing, like you were saying before, let's say Blab decides not to have these shows anymore. It looks like they're going in another direction. So I'm starting to slowly, I'll if I do a couple promo images for a Blab, I'll put one blab.im/iRossBrand, but then I'll do another one where I'll say rossbrand.tv, and more I'll start to use the rossbrand.tv so that if I end up broadcasting on another platform, I can send people directly to that. They don't even have to remember a new one. And plus it's easier just to tell somebody you meet in the street who doesn't know what Blab is, just go to that. And so, I recently also purchased the .live. And so what I'm eventually going to do is set up a page where whatever my next Blab is, I'm going to give that out, and they can watch it on my website by going to the .live. I mean, I embed it, but I don't have a special way to get there that's easier than, livestream.universe / blah, 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 the title of the Blab and whatever, right? So, I mean, I think this is a great strategy, and I'm sure more people are going to start doing this kind of thing. So if anybody is thinking about it, you might as well grab the domain now, and then you can always implement on your own time, but grab it before you lose it.
Right.
Yeah, Ross, that's really great advice. I mean, I say that to people, but I think because I'm in space and they see me sort of as a salesman, they're like, oh, you're just telling me that so you get me to, spend some money with your company. Well, that might be true, but also the reverse is true in the fact that I've seen this before. This is not my first rodeo in the domain space. This is not my first domain launch that I've seen. And if you can get a good domain name, even if you don't have any plans for it today, tomorrow, or even a month from now, but you might do something with it down the road, isn't the $19 yearly investment worth it to protect your property essentially, and be able to do something with that down the road? So I really like what you said, about the promoting, yourself as opposed to promoting, Blab. if I could take that little snippet of what you just said and just share that out, like with everyone that I talk to, of like, this is why you should have your own domain name and point it at whatever platform you're using. Like, it just makes so much sense. And sometimes it's like, I'm banging my head against a wall when I'm having these conversations, but I think more and more people are starting to get it, right? They're starting to understand the power in branding yourself, promoting your name as opposed to, someone else's. It's very good feedback.
I learned the hard way. I mean, I owned rossbrand.com, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever, with some other domains, like in addition to the other domains for some site. I was thinking about doing this video site thing, and then something called YouTube came along and kind of beat me to it, right?
Yeah.
So eventually I didn't end up doing the video site, right? And I hung on to my name for a few more years. I'm like, I'm never going to, get into web design or anything. And I let it go. And then when I wanted to get it back, it was like 1,000 something, whatever. Yeah. So I went with .net, but I figured with like .tv and .live, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. And here's what I'm wondering, right? When for like SEO or for domain authority or whatever, when you use something that you're just using it to forward to another domain, like I'm forwarding my name to Blab, right? My name.tv to Blab or whatever. Does Blab get all the sort of SEO juice, or does my name get some SEO juice for being in the first one found and then kicking it over? Wasn't so artfully described, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about.
That's there's not a lot of SEO benefits that you get from a forwarding domain. You can get some, but you're not going to get a whole lot. I mean, Blab is obviously going to be the one that's powering that. They're going to be the one that the website that you land on and you stay on.
Right. Now your time will be spent on there.
Exactly. If you're just using it as a short call to action, as a memorable way for people to find you, I don't necessarily know that that most people are going to be looking for a lot of SEO benefits from that. You mentioned something a little earlier when you first came on, that you're looking at putting together like a site about, here's all my upcoming blabs and embedded in there, and I think that would be really the best way to do it. Blab is still powering it. However, it's being promoted on rossbrand.live or whatever domain name it is, and you have a fully built out site around it. Mitch Jackson and Jen Hoverstad do a really good job with the show.live. They have that website. It's built out. It has a calendar of upcoming blabs. I don't necessarily know that they embed it, but they do have all of the recordings from the previous shows on there as well. So those are ways that you can do that. I think there are some platforms that I've talked to that might possibly be coming out that will allow you to have one stream and broadcast it simultaneously on multiple platforms, which I think will be really cool.
Yeah.
But I was just watching the Gary V interview with Al Roker, and Al Roker said, this is like radio, as comparing it to TV. Like, we're so early on in this space that we don't really know exactly how things are going to play out. Right. So to use that, I guess that advice, we're early on, but we're also early on in the domain space. You should go secure your brand in a .live or a .social or whatever resonates with you, and have that for down the road, whether it be a month from now or a year or 3 years. Keep that in your back pocket, so whatever whenever the platform that resonates most with you comes out, you'll have that domain name to use.
Right. And you can embed very easily blabs. Just go to the code and grab it. I am every blab that I feature on Livestream Universe, I embed the blab. So if you're signed into Blab, you can be watching this now on Livestream Universe, whatever. They made it a little harder because now you have to be signed in, but and it's fine whether people watch it or watch it here. I could care less. I'm not doing it for that. I'm just doing it because it makes it more discoverable, right? So somebody can watch a few minutes of it and go, oh, this is pretty good. Then they'll come over here and hopefully, join in the chat and stuff like that. But like I said, it'd be cool to be able to send somebody with a .live to whatever that day's featured blab or blabs are or whatever, and then be another way to do it. But anyway, thanks for all the good advice that you gave earlier, and love the show, Rachel.
Yeah,
thanks, Ross.
Love it. I'm glad you were here. And Michael, I want to let you know too, if you want to hop in we have empty seat here, but if you want to hop in, Michael has an interesting question about a subdomain. Now, Michael, I don't know, you're welcome to come in an open seat, but I want to ask you if you're talking like a subdomain, and I'm thinking, Mark, you can confirm this, subdomain is like saying live.really.social versus really social.live. And okay, that Michael says he is talking about that. What do you think about that, about doing, instead of having a .live domain, having a subdomain live? I mean, what would you say about the benefits of that or not?
Yeah, I think that's still a valuable practice. I guess my one drawback to that could be, depending upon how long your current .com or whatever domain you're using, right? And all of a sudden you're adding 5 more characters to the beginning of it, and it goes back to that radio test thing again. I think it's hard to say, like Lamborghini. Let's use that example again. No one really even knows how to spell Lamborghini in the first place. But go to live.lamborghini.com. Well, Lamborghini is pretty long, in the first place. It's just one name, but then you add an additional 5 characters to the front, and all of a sudden, it's even longer. I think the subdomains are good in the text. If you're just sharing it out in a textual manner. If you're sharing it out like on a platform like this, if I'm just saying a URL, it's probably not going to be something that's very memorable. Case. So I think you can I would do both. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to create a subdomain. Like most domain registrars will allow you to do that for free. Nice. And you can simply redirect the subdomain to blab. Actually, Brian Fanzo is doing that with his isocialfans.live. Nice. So he has isocialfans.live goes to his Periscope, but he has blab.isocialfans.live goes to blab. And any like Catch, I think he had Catch set up for .live as well. So now, since .live has so many different applications for all of these different platforms, whether it's Facebook or Blab or Periscope, now you can do fb.isocialfans.live, and that's your Facebook URL for your live streaming. If you are the same person on every platform, that probably makes sense. If you're like, for me, I'm just me on every platform, unless I'm doing a blab from our company blab, then I do it on behalf of Right Side. But I think if you're the same person on every platform, the subdomain name thing could make sense for you. Now,
and I want to make one quick statement too before I want to answer JD Gabby's and sorry, Jonathan, sorry, we had to click on you to make sure I know your name. Want to answer that too, but I would say too that for people, we're in this age of influencers right now, where yes, there are brands, yes, there are companies, but so many people, particularly with all these stand-up video, these personal video, live video streams we're able to create now, it seems like developing that personal brand of yours, grab your name with a .live or .social or whatever. Just grab it. I mean, if you can get it affordably, at least own that. I mean, it's like owning your address, and you might need it someday, just like Ross was alluding to earlier. But it just makes sense to foresee that possibility that you might need to make use of that in the future, and then nobody else has it. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, I bought mark.social. It was $75. It was a little bit more expensive than just a generic domain name, but I'm like, the investment in mark.social, even though there's not a lot of us that spell our name with a C out there, there's still some fairly, big name people. There could be an aftermarket play for that down the road. I don't know. If I wanted to do that, I could. I'm going to keep it for my own use. Like right now, I just have it pointed to an About Me page where I've got, a little snippet about me. I've got my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Twitter profile, and it's just a way for people to connect with me on all these different platforms. So I would say yes, go do it. I mean, especially first and last name, like that, we're big about promoting your name dot domain, especially first and last name. And if you're interested and you want to do it, you can go to markg.live right here. I should have written it backwards, but markg.live, you can get it basically takes you to a .live landing page where you can purchase the domain. It's powered by name.com, which is in your backyard, actually, in Denver. So they're a company that RightSide owns. So go there. I think they're actually on sale right now for $8.99 a year. I mean, I spend more money at Starbucks every morning for a coffee and a scone than that. So why wouldn't you invest in your brand for $9 a year?
Now, before we wrap too, because we're coming up to the top of the hour, but a seat is open. So if anyone does want to has been engaging in the sidebar, please hop in. And a reminder, just thank you for watching this, and we're recording, so the replay will be available. But if someone wants to hop in, they can. But now we talked about .social and .live, but you'd have mentioned a couple other domains that I think a lot. What? That's a domain? And do you mind like rattling off some other ones that we may not be aware of, just to kind of again raise the awareness that I could get that one?
Sure. Two of our top sellers, .ninja and .rocks. .ninja. When I first thought of them, that seems really weird, right? But think about how people use the term ninja. They use the term ninja as an expert. Like if you're known as a ninja in some area, you're an expert. Like, so I bought the domain name bowtie.ninja. I like bow ties. And actually I just use it as a way for people to go find me on Snapchat. So if you want to find me on Snapchat, go to bowtie.ninja and it'll add me on Snapchat automatically. But we also have RIP, which I mentioned earlier, .pub. So it could be a drinking establishment, it could be a publication, it could be public. There's so many different meanings. We also have a lot of armed forces. We have .army, .navy, .air force. So we actually have 40 domains, and you can go to you can actually, I'll put a link in the chat where everyone can go see all of our domain portfolio. So cool. Hey Amy, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I am fantastic.
Me too. It's a great day, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
Hey, how are you doing? Amy Skillen.live?
You know what? I think I'm going to have to own that, because that's just, it never occurred to me. But yeah, I think that's what I'm doing later today.
Nice.
There you go.
Hey, so I just wanted to go back to something that you commented on earlier about getting these other domains and then forwarding them to your web page or your About Me or whatever.
Yep.
And I don't know if you saw in the chat, but I have a friend who is a marketing guru in San Antonio, and that's exactly what he's been advising his clients to do for years. And so
I want to meet him.
Oh, you guys would have so much to talk about. Oh my God. Get him on Blab one of these days. But I think it's a brilliant strategy to do just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the message we're trying to get across is it's easy to use. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a fully blown, built out site. I mean, if you're on social media and you're sharing your brand, your Coca-Cola, let's say, and everything you share on, social media, on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever, you should have Coca-Cola.social as the domain name that you share on LinkedIn. So you can basically see the interaction that you're getting on those social media platforms. There's so many marketers out there that want to know, well, what's the ROI on social media? Well, have you really even tried to track it? Have you used a unique URL when you're sharing it on social media? Maybe, but it probably hasn't been one that people really remember or even recognize. So once it's a different way. It's a different kind of paradigm and kind of shifting the way that people are thinking. It's not going to happen overnight for sure. I mean, we're just about 2 years into this. In August of 2014, RightSide will have been around for 2 years. So new domain names are new. like
Yeah.
they're super new.
Right.
We're talking about like infant new when you're comparing it to a baby. I mean, you've got your .com, which is a grandfather right now, and we're talking about a .social or a .live is like a 6-month-old baby. So there's .com, and a lot of those domain names have been around and have been through a lot. We're trying to change 25 years of ingrained thinking overnight. It's not going to happen, but the more things that like this that I can be on, where I educate people, I just give them the really kind of the brass, get down to brass tacks on how easy it is to use a new domain, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I think that's where the biggest benefit for us is going to be, is just educating Rachel and educating Amy and educating Ross, and then they go tell all their people, and then it's sort of this word of mouth, which has been really big for us.
Well, I think it's brilliant. I think it's really, really brilliant. But as you said, changing the .com mentality is going to take a good amount of time, because you immediately assume that somebody's website is, whatever, so-and-so at .com or such and such brand at .com. And it's, I think as humans, we, to some extent, are resistant to change. And, the speed at which technology changes and social changes and, these whatever extension changes is definitely a stopping point in our brain that says, well, what do I do with all of this? And you're confusing.
Yeah.
And so I think that you have a good point, Mark, in that the more you get out and talk about it, and the more you show how easy it is to really do this, I think more people are going to start to come around and think that it's a good idea, and we should be more open to that kind of change. You have to live in that mentality of change if you want to get anywhere in society right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you're going to be
exactly
behind.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, like, just to like one last thing on that, if I could have gone back, if I know now,
Sure.
if I knew then what I know now, like 15 years ago, right? Like, we all would have went out and bought like candy.com and all of these one word domains, right? I mean, we'd all be sitting on a beach somewhere, drinking margaritas and like someone fanning us with grape leaves or something like that. Like that's the type of money that was available in those. So I think you're seeing that you're seeing that again, like now is a new opportunity for that. It's probably not going to be on that same scale necessarily, but there's going to be a time where, like, I think about my son, he's 3 months old. He's not going to know that .com was the only domain name that existed. Like and even kids in middle school that, are so savvy, with different things, like they're going to get introduced to this stuff at an early age, and they're going to be the ones that essentially are going to be, hey, I bought, Joe.live or, whatever domain it is, a 3-character domain. Like, they're like, oh yeah, my name is Joe, I bought it, and 10 years from now, some really well-known Joe is going to want that. And he's going to be like, oh, I'll give you $10 million or whatever it is. Right. Mm-hmm. So, not necessarily like we need to think about it that long-term, but if we just think, in the moment and how beneficial it could be to me right now, I think that's,
yeah. And Mark, you just gave me an idea too. I've actually gotten email addresses on Gmail for my kids that have their names in it. So it's a professional one if they needed it. So I've gotten those already, but now you're making me think I might need to maybe be that mom that buys a couple domains for my kids so that they can have them for their own brand, something that's versatile enough that they can have. But I don't think that's too far-fetched. I consider digital space to be completely a part of someone's brand from the moment you can get online. I think I'll be checking that out today, Amy. I think we have some homework we're doing today.
Well, one domain name that I forgot to mention, and I would be remiss if I didn't, is .family. Think of like now, like you could get more .family, skill in .family, and now you create a domain name, an online hub not only for your immediate family, but extended family.
Yeah.
And there's actually a company out there called Spoked, SPOKT. If you go to spoke.family, they actually do family website. So it's like a Facebook for families. You can create a secure place where you can share all that information. There's no, creeps and stalkers. Like, I'm going to use it because my wife is totally against Facebook and me putting information about her or my son out there, which I don't disagree with. But if I can do that on a secure place where only the people that I let have access to it can access to it, and like, I know that that's exactly the case. It's protected. It's behind firewalls. It's all that stuff. I'm going to do that. So I bought mylastname.family when it was first available. It's only been out for, probably 6 or 7 months. So there's still a lot of availability. So go check it out as well. So
I will have to. Yeah. I'm going to invest in that.
And I just want to add one little thing to what you just said, Mark, and that's that I have really backed off posting anything about my kids. But the fact of the matter is, our kids have a digital footprint by the age of 5 years old.
Yep.
And that statistic is a year and a half old. So it's probably it's probably younger now. And it is us as parents who are creating that for our kids.
We are.
And, so at what point do you make that choice for them? So, I started backing off posting stuff about my kids. I've already created that digital footprint, but I don't need to add to it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's a whole nother blab, right? Where we could get into all that. I mean, for me personally, as someone that sort of grew up I'm 34 years old, which actually now that seems like it's really old as far as like the technical, time. One of the guys that was on the interview with Gary Vaynerchuk and Al Roker, he's 29, and he's talking about like growing up with dial-up. Like when I grew up, like I remember working on a typewriter, not much. Most of it was on a computer, and internet, came out when I was, sort of early middle school age. So, I've grown up with technology, but I think about my kids. I mean, my son is 3 months old and he's staring at screens all day long. Like, if I have my phone up, he's staring at it. Like, he doesn't know what it is, but it intrigues him. The same with the iPad and TV. So, like, they're availed to it, from day one, right? So it's kind of hard not to be, in technology from the get-go. So
and you guys, I'm actually going to divert a little bit. Amy, thank you for your questions too. We've got a couple questions in the sidebar. I'm
going to log out. I'll see you guys later. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
So SD3 designer JP had asked about some TLD domains, a definition of a TLD, and if it qualifies as a vanity domain.
Yeah, so TLD stands for top level domain. So every domain name that we have is a TLD. So basically they call them GTLD or generic top level domains. Okay. And then I think they have the brand. I don't know if they call them BTLDs for the brand top level domains like .bmw and .marriott and others, but any domain name is a TLD. So yeah, I actually saw his question a little bit earlier.
Buying domains from a laptop. Maybe I need a good definition of a TLD. I know, I'm trying to find it too. Keeps scrolling down on me.
Yeah, if you could drop it back in there, the exact question, if we can't find it. But any domain name all of these domain names are the same, whether it's .com or .social or .live or .rip or .sale. They all are treated the exact same. Now there are just more opportunities. Yeah. There's more availability. So if you hear .live, it functions exactly like a .com does.
Right.
So there's no difference in the way that they function, the way that they're ranked on Google, any of that. It's all the same. One other piece of information regarding Google, Google they sell domains themselves. So it used to be googledomains.com or google.com/domains. They just changed it, and now it's domains.google. So they're using their own domain name as well. So if you don't think that Google is invested in this space, think again, because they own their own domains. Amazon owns their own domains. Like, there are big name players in this space that are very, interested in seeing this succeed and seeing this sort of become a way of life. So, just another kind of log for the fire, in that there are a lot of big companies that are influential, that are investing and want to make this work.
Well, I think, if you say Google, then we all realize the SEO value behind Google as a search engine. So I think that's definitely persuasive. And then Ross had his question. Do you always recommend doing the private domain registration?
Yeah. So I guess my answer to that would be, it depends. If you have a family site and you're posting family photos, you're posting photos of your kids, absolutely do that. Protect, because it's basically going to show your registration information, your name, address, phone number. And if it's your home address and it's a family site, protect yourself, right? If it's a live streaming site or a social site where people can already see where you're at, where you're broadcasting from, you probably don't necessarily need that.
Right.
So I would say it depends. The investment level is pretty low. In that I think it's $3.99 or something like that for privacy. So if you're worried about it, add it. Absolutely. I don't have privacy on a lot of my domains because, once again, most of the stuff I post that I have out there is not personal. It's not, family related. I don't have to worry about it. Like, I'm out there, I'm forward facing, as it were, in my job already. So if someone wants to find me, they can find me.
Gotcha.
They can probably find me most days on Blab, or Periscope. So, with that, social media being as social as it is, and, as many ways for people to find us, I would say only if you're posting, stuff that you don't want people to know where you're posting from or you're protected by. So.
Cool. Well, cool. Well, thanks we hit a little over an hour. So that was a wonderful session. Thank you for being here, Mark. This was obviously a very big interest to a lot of us. And I, of course, am very keen on it. I was so excited. I was like, I am on the forefront, having my domain as .social. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more creativity in that space and people finding these domains. And it's great to have you as a resource to kind of guide us through the fact this is the new baby on the website domain block. So I appreciate you being with us today. And what again, if you want to just give us a parting shot, where do we go to learn more about getting these domains?
Yeah, so you can go to your current registrar, whatever registrar you use. We really don't care where you buy them, just go buy them. Okay. If you're interested in supporting me and the Blab here, go to markg.live right here. Also, if you're interested and you want to see what other people are doing on with these new domains, I put a link in the chat there, showcase.ninja. So we've created basically an online resource for .live, .social, .family, and some others, and ways that individuals, brands, companies are using these new domains to show you exactly how easy it is. Nice. So, if you need some sort of prompting, if you need a little bit of reassurance to be like, well, how can I use this? Go check it out. Most of them are redirects. Most of them just redirect to, a .com site or something where they're, they have a page built using it as a shorter call to action. So,
or, a nice big old site like really.social.
Really, awesome. I mean, once again, that's an amazing domain name, in the fact that it's sort of a tagline. Mm-hmm. I am really social. So that's one thing we didn't get to talk about. So, ways that people are also using domain names as, as taglines or actual words, sentences, as opposed to just creating some really long domain name and then slapping a .com on the end of it. So.
Well, on that note, and guys, again, this will be available on replay. Thank you for your fantastic questions. This was awesome. And I'll be looking, I'm probably going to be going hitting you up later and finding some domains I might want to grab for me and mine. So I'll be doing that. But it was a wonderful blab. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge here today. And it'll be great. And I think some people are also asking, when are you on Blab, Mark?
So currently we try to do a weekly show on Tuesdays. Being that I'm a guest on this show today, we're not doing one this week, but we'll probably be doing another one on Tuesday. We use the domain name yourstory.live as the call to action. So what we try to talk about is the ways that brands, small businesses, individuals are using new domains and using it in a creative way. So we try to highlight the business as opposed to our company. Like, we want to show practical uses and get people thinking about, alternative ways to do that. So yourstory.live, you can go there and check out past broadcasts. I try to jump in and support just about anyone that I can that's using a new domain. So if you're using a new domain, let me know. I'd love to share it myself. I'd love also for us as a company to share it, whether it be on our blog or add it as a use case on showcase.ninja. So
very cool. Thank you so much, Mark. And I'm actually going to share in the chat. I'm always looking for great guests like Mark to be on our blabs, on the Really Social Blabs. So if you guys want to click that link, if you've got a recommendation or you want to recommend yourself, please click that. And I would love to see you on a future blab. And just FYI, I'm not going to be on Blab next Tuesday because I'm going to be doing social media live support for a client at a downtown Denver event where we'll be live streaming and things. But I will be back the following Tuesday, and that's going to be a how-to blab. And you guys, if you guys have suggestions about what you want that to be about, just basic tutorial walk through how to do something in social media, tweet me at Rachel_Really, and I will get it done for you. But that wraps up today's blab. Mark, again, thank you. Thank you to all you fantastic viewers and participators in the chat. You make it real, and I love it. And we're going to sign off now, and we'll see you guys next time in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, be really.social.
thanks.
All right. And there we go. Okay, I hit the wrong button.